and I love jiu-jitsu, and I started training when I was 5, and then when I was like 12, I started wrestling in high school, and I basically started wrestling in high school because I wanted a way to train on the mats that wasn't PE, because let's face it, no one wants to be in PE, so I thought it'd be fun. I thought I'd learn some takedowns that would help me with my jiu-jitsu, but then I fell in love with wrestling, so I wrestled all the way until I was like 18 and a half, and I got to a pretty high level in wrestling. I won the state championships, the nationals. I was able to compete internationally with Team USA, and it was really great, and I wrestled in college for a bit. And then when I got to college, though, the problem was that, like, everyone thought I sucked at wrestling in college because I was in high school, and I was able to do a couple of things that were really good, but I got to college and I realized my positioning was horrible, right? So my stance in motion was formed in college, and my college coach would have me do like 20 minutes of stance in motion after 2-hour wrestling practices, and it was horrible, but it made me have a really great stance. And so now I understand why that's so important to have effective techniques. A lot of times, same with other positions too, not just on the feet, not just wrestling, but say example, butterfly guard. Okay, butterfly guard is a really, really great position to be in, but if you're not able to get the person to come down to their knees and you don't know how to effectively get into the butterfly guard, then all those drills all those techniques that we just drill are going to be impossible to implement, right? So stand-up is exactly the same. If I'm not able to get into the right position to fire off my takedowns, or if I'm getting taken down, or if the person's pulling guard because I don't know how to engage correctly before I can go for my takedowns, then I'm never going to be able to effectively use them, right? So that's what stance in motion is for. So all the techniques we're going to use today, or we're going to learn today, are really, really great to implement once we're in good position, right? So that's kind of the point of this whole speech there. So the stance in motion is valuable, I promise, okay? All right, so we're going to get into it, guys. First thing we're going to talk about is how to get into the underhook position. Connie, please. Thank you. I hope you got that picture, because that was my pose right there. That's the poster. That's it. Okay, so first things first, we have to learn how to get to an underhook, okay? Same thing with the butterfly guard thing. I can show you guys a far knee tap, but if we don't know how to get to an underhook, we're not going to be able to use it. Actually, other side. Thank you. All right, so first step, guys, what we're going to do here is get into our underhook for our far knee tap, which is by and far. I think that far and wide. Whatever the phrase is, it's my favorite. I like, what? Who said?
By and large.
Yeah, that, okay? That is my favorite takedown. Far knee tap, I use this all the time, especially like if someone's stand-up is getting like a little bit annoying and like other things are not working for me, I just always go back to this and it works. So it's my favorite thing to teach, right? It's very effective. So step number 1, guys, to get to the underhook is I'm gonna start to snap on the back of the neck. So as I start to hit the head with my right hand, my left arm is going to shoot underneath, and what I want to do is get a grip right on the back of her delt. So I'm not necessarily going across her back, I'm going right underneath the delt on my left side, okay? So I'm going to start to come in, I'm going to hit the head, and my left hand is going to shoot underneath. Now right when I'm in this position, guys, I'm going to start to turn towards my partner, and notice how my left foot's going to take a step, and I'm going to bring my forehead to the inside of her temple, okay? This is really, really important. If I don't have this positioning, this underhook isn't going to be almost useless to me. If her head is here, now my underhook is weak. Look how low my elbow just dropped, okay? But if my head is here, look how I can raise my elbow up, okay? So now I have my underhook. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is I need to get this foot closer to me, okay? So I'm going to pull and make her step. So my right hand's going to go to the same position my left hand is in, but over the arm, okay? So what I mean by that is I'm going to reach and grab the delt. So again, I'm not grabbing the tricep, I'm not grabbing underneath on the lat, right on the delt here, okay, where her armpit is. Now I'm going to pull and make her step, and my goal is to line up my big toe with her big toe here, okay? So if you've ever done an ankle pick, this takedown is very similar, where I'm taking her down at a diagonal angle. What I don't want to do is drive her backwards, and I don't want to drive her sideways, because both of those positions are very easy for her to defend, sideways or backward, right? So I want to take her at a diagonal angle, where, I almost broke my ankle, where her knee, don't do that, where her knee, we'll do it on your good ankle side, where her knee's going to open here, because that's when it really starts to be hard to defend, okay? So I had my underhook, I made her step. So I'm driving her at this diagonal angle where her knee is going to open, and what's really effective about this takedown is that my arm is shooting across her shoulders. So my left hand's going to shoot across, my right hand's going to catch the outside of the knee, and I'm going to run through my partner to take her down. Sorry, that's kind of hard. Okay? So a couple things here, guys, that are effective about the takedown. 3, mainly. Well, 4. Okay? So number 1, the underhook is shooting across the back. So this takedown is not necessarily about grabbing her legs and pulling them in. It's really about toppling her upper body over, and then all I'm doing is catching the knee so she can't sprawl. That's it. So 3 things. Number 1 is the underhook is shooting across. Number 2, I'm catching the knee so she can't sprawl. Number 3, I'm running through her. And number 4, which is the most often forgot, is that my head is in her temple driving through her. okay? If my head starts to slip out, now she has a chance to start to defend and bring her head inside. So my head is really assisting in this, okay? She can't go anywhere without her head. So if her head goes this way, her body's gonna follow, all right? So again, so step number 1, guys, I need my underhook. So I'm gonna hit the head, boom, break the posture, underhook comes in, okay? Step number 2, my right hand's gonna come to the back of the delt here. I'm gonna bring my head into position, and I'm gonna pull and make her step, okay? Step number 3, I'm gonna shoot my left hand across her back at a diagonal angle. My big toes lined up with hers. Right hand on the back of the knee, and I'm gonna drive through her. So notice where my head's gonna stay, guys. My head's in the temple, I run through her, and I throw her away with my left hand, okay? Now, there will be times where I end up on top of my partner for sure, especially as I'm driving through for the finish. But my number 1 goal, if I can, in a perfect world, hardly ever is this way, but if it happens, is I want to stay standing just like I was, because now I can go into my either my speed passing or my pressure passing, wherever I want to be. If I do land on top of my partner, though it's not a big deal, but we're going to talk about elbow positioning right now to make sure we stay safe the whole time. Okay, so I'll show one more time from the other side, guys. So step number 1 is I'm in a good stance the whole time, just like we talked about before. Snap the head, underhook. From here, head's in position. And I'm not ear to ear, right? I'm forehead in her temple. Step 2, right hand comes to the back of the armpit in the delt. I'm gonna step and pull to her, make her big toe in line with mine. Step number 3, and notice here, guys, how my hips are always below my head too. That's something important. I wanna be here like a table, okay? I want my hips below my head so that I have a lot of power in my legs. Now, step number 3, my hand's gonna go to the back of the knee. My left arm is doing most of the work. Remember, I'm just shucking her body over. My right hand's just catching, okay? From here, I'm gonna run through, I'm gonna throw her away. And if I do land, this is totally fine. Actually, I'm in a great knee slide position with the underhook. That would be preferred. This doesn't usually happen this way, but if it does, great, okay? But what a lot of times will happen is I'm either able to go right to side control, or sometimes, unfortunately, we might end up in the closed guard, which again, not the end of the world, we got our 2 points. However, what I want to avoid is making sure that this arm is not in danger. Because I had such a deep underhook, as soon as I start to take my partner down, I just need to be ready to bring my underhook inside, and preferably before her guard closes, bringing my foot up and starting to pass, okay? So just be aware of that, guys, as you're taking your partner down. The only thing we don't want is to be lazy about that arm, because the worst thing is like taking someone down and getting submitted. I don't recommend it, okay? All right, so this is our far knee tap, guys. We're gonna start here. This is gonna be the base for everything else we do today. Everything else is gonna feed off of this. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
If you have like a different stance than your partner, do you like do a setup first or anything? Does it change anything?
Yeah. So the only thing that matters is making sure that like my big toe lines up with hers, right? So say for example, like if I'm left-handed and she's right-handed like this, then if I want to be doing with the knee tap, to be honest, you could do it on either side. But say I'm lefty and I want to do the underhook with my right hand specifically. It's going to take a little bit more work to set up, but once it's set up, the mechanics are the same. Okay, so from here, I would come in with my left hand and I'd get my underhook. And now her leg's actually already in really great position. So as I step, I don't have to pull that much, because now her leg's already exactly where I need it to be. Okay, so it just kind of depends on if she's mirroring me or if she's the same as I am, how much I have to pull and make her step. All right, cool. Anything else, guys? Okay, let's go on 3, guys. 1, 2. So the great thing about this series that we're going to go over today, because we're going to keep working on this underhook position, is that it's going to give us an opportunity to get really fluid with these grips and these positionings and angles. So the goal is kind of like we're going to conceptually look at the underhook as its like own, I don't know, being, entity. I view it like that. It's like its own little world, you know, the underhook, right? So by the end of today, even if you don't feel like you're an expert at each one of the techniques, the goal is to feel really, really comfortable now in that position, and then have some options to go to from there that you can start to expand on. Because it's really like a never-ending story, right? You can do anything from an underhook, in my opinion. So from here, we're going to talk about 3 things, but the goal is to get really, really comfortable there today, okay? All right, let's do it. So round 2. We're going to talk about now is what happens when I can't quite get to my partner's leg. Now this happens sometimes, so we're going to switch to the head instead, okay? So from here, I'm sorry, that's the 3rd one. Second one, we're going to go to the back right now, okay? So from here, we're going to start exactly the same, guys. I'm going to start to hit the head and go to my underhook here, okay? I'm just cupping the head to make sure that there's an opening for my underhook. Because a lot of times if I just start to swim inside, it's going to be really tight. So I hit the head to create an awareness of here. She starts to lift up her arm, and I swim in, just as a side, okay? So boom, underhook here. So from this position, guys, I'm going to go straight to my far knee tap again. We're going to talk about the headlock legs, okay? So for my far knee tap again, one of the most common reactions is I'm going to start to miss the leg when my partner starts to defend. So I'm gonna start again the same way. I'm gonna start to pull. And a lot of times, as I start to reach through the knee, she's actually gonna go the other way. You're gonna kind of walk to your left and try to circle and face me, okay? So as she circles and faces me, it's kind of hard to illustrate slow motion, but what's gonna happen is as she starts to circle to face me, is I'm gonna shuck the arm by, and I'm gonna go to the back clinch position, okay? So again, I'm gonna come here, underhook, I'm gonna pull, make her a step, I'm going for my far knee tap. So as she defends, I throw the left, sorry, you can say something. It was just too good of a shuck, what could you do? Okay, so I just shuck the left arm by. Now, as I shuck the left arm by, guys, I'm simultaneously swinging to the back, okay? So, golden rule of takedowns, okay, is if I chase the legs, the back will appear and vice versa. Because if I'm chasing the legs, I'm usually gonna be able to work my way to the back, whether they're sprawling or whatever defense they're doing. And if I'm chasing the back, she's gonna have to try to turn back towards me, and then the legs appear as well, okay? So just keep that in mind as we're going through some stuff today, okay? So I found myself, I'm gonna spin you. There you go. Found myself in the back clinch, okay? So from this position, guys, my favorite mat return is the reverse sumigaish roll. So I'm gonna go over this with you guys here, okay? So once I'm at the back clinch, step number one is I'm gonna start to rotate my head to the side, and I'm gonna bring my lock to her hip. Step number two is I'm gonna start to sit underneath my partner, and I'm gonna bring my left shin to the back of her left, or sorry, my right shin to the back of her left knee. So all you're gonna do when I take you down is you do like a back roll of your left shoulder. Okay. Don't worry, I won't flip you on your head. All right, okay. So from here, I'm gonna start to bring my knee in, and step three is I'm gonna sit to my left hip. So I sit underneath, and I use my right leg to elevate her over. Now, very important here, guys, that I'm not dropping to my hip, I'm not rolling her through. I'm not like rolling on my side. I'm really rolling over my shoulder. So from here, I'm gonna use my left toes to elevate me onto my left knee, and I drive my right knee down to the ground. Now this opens up a couple of options. Of course, I can go to the back, or if she starts to turn back into me, I'm in my leg drag, and I can start to pass the guard, okay? So technique number two is our back clinch to the reverse sumigaish roll. So from here, guys, again, from the beginning. So number one, come to my underhook, and I'm going to my far knee tap. From here, if she's turning towards me, I'm gonna use my left hand. I'm gonna make my left hand go in a big arch this way. And as I'm bringing this hand in a big arch, I circle to the back, okay? Once I'm at the back, now I have tons of options, okay? We can keep it super simple here by tapping the knee and taking her down to her knees. I can do my big crazy suplex stuff if that's your style, or we can go to this reverse sumigaish roll, okay? So for here, for the roll, guys, step one, move my lock to the hip and my ear to her back. Step two, I'm gonna step my right knee inside and bring my right shin to the inside of her knee. And step three, I'm gonna sit to my left hip. So I wanna sit underneath her, boom, and I fall to my left hip. Now from here, notice how my right foot stays attached the entire time. And I'm gonna come up to my knee, driving my right knee to the ground, and giving myself the option of the back or side control as well. All right? So one more time, guys, I'll switch sides with you. Okay. So far knee tap, she defends, back clinch, takedown, all right? Here, underhook, and I'm going to my far knee tap. As she circles towards me, I'm gonna shut and find myself in the back. From here, step number one for the reverse roll is I'm gonna step to the side, bring my lock to the hip. My ear's on her lower back. Step two, I'm gonna start to sit underneath her. And as I'm sitting, guys, my right shin comes to the knee. I'm gonna come up to my left knee, and I'm gonna drive my right knee to the ground, coming either to the back or side control depending on what she does, okay? The great thing about this position, I know I unlocked my hands already, but you don't have to unlock your hands. I have a great body lock control. So from the body lock control, I can decide whether I'm gonna keep smash passing again, or I wanna go to the back, or start stepping over to this side. A lot of cool stuff we can do from there, okay? So again, guys, we went from the underhook to the far knee tap. When she starts to face us, the only thing that I'm doing that I have to worry about is using her own momentum against her. She knows I'm gonna attack the knee. So as she turns back towards me, I'm just helping her continue going the way she's already going by shucking her arm over. Then the back appears. So once I have the back, I can do lots of stuff, okay? This is my personal favorite way to take somebody down from the back clinch for a couple of reasons. I don't know why I'm sitting my ankle like that, so smart. The number one is because it's very low risk, right? As I sit underneath my partner, there's not really a whole lot that she can do. It's almost like a crab ride position. If you guys have been in that position on top, it feels like very helpless, right? So as I'm rolling her through, whether my partner's bigger, stronger, same size, doesn't matter, I'm not lifting her up. Like the suplex one is a lot harder for some people. What I'm doing is I'm just getting out of her way and helping her fall. I'm sitting underneath her, and she's toppling over. That's it, okay? So you guys can do it on anybody of any shape. Just be very careful with the space and make sure you're not like kicking each other in the head. And person who's getting taken down, just we're gonna do a nice easy shoulder roll and make sure you're tucking your head to the side, okay? And then from there, we come up and we have great options and we're in a dominant position ready to go, okay? So any questions on the technique, guys? Or does anyone need to see anything again?
Can I see the movement?
Say it one more time?
Yeah.
One more time? Yeah, absolutely, okay? So one more time here, guys. So I'm gonna go for my far knee tap. Boom, I have the leg in position, but she starts to defend, so I shuck her by. Okay, from here, hand to the hip, ear to the back. I'm gonna step in. So notice how I kind of wind myself up to get all the way underneath her. I don't wanna pull her back on top of me. So as I go underneath, I bring my right foot into attach, and then it should be nice and easy as I roll her over. Notice how there isn't really any strain in my voice, guys. It's very smooth, right? If it feels difficult, there's something we need to adjust for sure. So the whole time I'm rolling her through, look how my right foot's gonna stay attached to her leg. I'm gonna guide her where I want her to be. So I kick with my right foot, I come up with my body lock, now I have a lot of options, okay? All right, yeah.
Does it matter what grip you get, like the other grip versus,
Yeah, people have really strong preferences about this. Personally, I don't like the gable grip I like the gable grip for other things. I don't like it for the clinch because it's very easy for my partner to start digging their thumbs inside and hipping out and starting to break my grip. So, and the same thing with the S, it's a very weak position, or grip from this position. So for me personally, I like my hand to the wrist so I can kind of pull everything through like a tight waist, right? So if I have one hand, actually going for it. It's same with a seatbelt, okay? So like with a seatbelt grip from the back, same thing. I always protect my choking hand and I pull it as tight as possible. So the clinch, same thing, right? I protect whichever hand is gonna be the front arm and I pull everything through. Because if I'm here, now she can peel the top hand off, just like the back, it's the same exact thing. But if I'm protecting this hand that's tighter, I pull it all the way through. One, it's hard to break because it's on the side of the hip, but two, if I'm here, there's a clear path to opening. If I'm covering, now it's much tighter. Okay, so I go hand on top of the wrist, and the hand that's on top is the short arm. The long arm is protected. Just like when we're on the back and I'm choking, I protect my choking arm and pull it through. Same thing, okay? Any other questions, guys? All right, let's go on 3, 1, 2. Okay, so from here, guys, I'm just gonna go into the leg drag position as if I just finished, okay? So a couple of things here. As I'm finishing this takedown, 2 things that I need to look at. Number 1 is I really do want to go all the way to the leg drag. What I don't want to do is just like come up to my knees. Because if I come up to my knees, it's going to be very easy for her to start to recover the guard, right? So it's one of those things, there's so many things like this, but it's one of those things that we can skip in drilling and get away with because no one's actually fighting back. But then as soon as we're sparring, the person's going to recover their guard over and over. So make sure we're drilling that really tight. So that's number 1, okay? So my knee, a lot of bruises. So my knee is going all the way to the floor, okay? Now, second thing that's very important is my foot placement. What I don't want to have is my leg inside here, because now if you have those like really annoying inverting leg lock people, they're going to start reaching for my foot and trying to rip my leg off. Okay, so make sure this foot's inside. If my foot's inside, it doesn't matter if she reaches for my knee, there's no access to my foot. But if my foot's here, now I'm starting to get in trouble, okay? So just make sure when we're coming to the ground, guys, my knee's inside, my foot's outside. That way I have a great access to the back or side control and I'm nice and safe, okay? Any questions on this takedown, guys? Or on the what did I call it? The reverse Sumagash roll or anything like that? Okay. Yeah, questions?
When we were circling around and we keep the arm that we're spinning with without the tap, and we get around, we trap the arm.
Yes, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, don't worry. So a lot of times, guys, with this position, the arm may end up trapped inside. If so, awesome. That's like literally I'm like, hallelujah, thank God I have this arm right now, okay? It's like the best thing ever because if that happens, there's literally nothing they can do. They can't close, they can't break the grip, it's awesome. So if I do end up behind my partner with the arm trapped, great. And preferably in this scenario, I would like to go to the side where her arm is trapped. Personally, I don't like to do this to the left, so I wouldn't anyway. But if I did, even better. Okay, so like if I'm here, if I have this arm, this is like the best. Like if I get this, it's like amazing, right? So if I'm here, I can come in, there's no defense on this side, right? So that would be, but even if I have this arm, and I go to this side, that's even, here, let's step forward a little bit, I'm taking the wall. So just to kind of see what this looks like when we finish. So say I end up with this doubly locked in with her arm, and I'm sitting, and I'm bringing her up. This makes my passing or my back taking a lot easier as well, because now I took away one of her arms. Yeah, so if I trap the arm, even better. So, great. All right? I'm sorry?
She did.
She trapped you? Perfect. I like it. Can I say I taught her that? Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on now, guys, to the front headlock, okay? So there are going to be times where my partner is just doing a really good job keeping their hips away from me, okay? So when we're thinking about defensive stuff, and kind of a great way to think about jiu-jitsu is always reverse engineering. If you're like finding yourself having a hard time doing something, reverse engineering the other half of it will teach you a lot. So what that means is if I'm trying to attack her legs and she's keeping her legs away from me and her head is dropping forward, now I have access to her head. So I'm always going to be chasing three things when it comes to takedowns. I'm chasing the head, I'm chasing the legs, and I'm chasing the back. So typically if I'm chasing one and they're defending, they're going to have to open up at least one more of them, hopefully even two. Okay, that would be great. So we just talked about one option where if she defends her legs, she opens up her back. Now we're going to talk about if she's defending the legs and her back, she's going to open up her head. Okay, so I'm always looking at all three of these things, and if I'm able to get to one of them, I can finish the takedown. Okay, and a lot of times with takedowns, just like anything else, it will take a couple things to chain together before I'm able to like actually get my 2 points or actually get to the top position because they're starting to defend. But if I know the answer to what they're defending, then on step 2, 3, or maybe even 4, boom, I'm gonna get my takedown nice and easy, okay? So we're gonna start in the same position here. So from the underhook, okay? So everything from the underhook, guys. 1, 2. Okay, so from this position, I might be trying to pull her, grab her foot, whatever, but a lot of times what happens, she'll even start stiff arming me on my shoulder and start backing her hips up. So I still have my underhook, but now it's very hard for me to get to that knee, and I'm not able to shuck her either because now her back is far away from me. But what it does leave open is her head. Turn this way, okay? So step 2, once I get my underhook, is I'm gonna bring my right hand inside, and I'm gonna bring it right to the inside of her ear, like I don't want her to hear me, okay? So really put it on the ear, guys, not the head. So I'm pushing. Now from here, if she decides to posture up, she'll give me her legs. But most people won't. They're gonna be stubborn here and they're gonna be trying to turn back into me. So as she's turning into me, just watch my hand, guys. I'm gonna circle my right hand all the way over. I'm gonna use my left hand to pull, and I'm gonna bring her right into a front headlock, okay? So with our front headlock, guys, I'm cupping the chin and I'm cupping the tricep, okay? From here, to snap my partner down, I'm gonna pull, and I wanna make sure I'm turning a little bit towards the side. So I'm turning to the right side, the side of her head. So as I pull, I'm gonna bring her towards her head, and I'm gonna snap my partner down onto her knees, okay? Now from the front headlock position, guys, of course, you know we have tons of options. We can go to our guillotines, or we can go to our back. That's typically like the 2 routes that we're gonna take. And again, not to get like too lengthy and complicated here, but when I attack one, the other one opens. So this is the same thing as standing. If I'm attacking the neck, she's defending the neck, I go to the back. If I'm attacking the back, she defends the back, I go to the neck. So same thing as standing. If I attack the head, the legs, or the back, and she defends one, I go to the other. Okay, so we're not gonna go into too many options from here. I'm just gonna keep it super simple and do one go behind, all right? So for our go behinds, guys, I have either a knee block or my hand block. Turning the exact opposite way, keep it this way. Thank you. Okay, so I have my knee block or my hand block. So from here, my hand block is gonna be bringing my right arm over and swimming my hand behind her tricep. I need to block this tricep so that as I circle, she's not able to grab my leg. So this would be my hand go block, or hand go behind. So I'm gonna come here and I'm just gonna spin to her ankle and come all the way behind the hips. My knee go behind, very, very similar, but as you can imagine, I use my knee instead of my hand, right? So from here, I'm gonna pull in the tricep, open up this space, I'm gonna drive my left knee inside, and now as I cover the hips, I can come hip to hip with my partner and start attacking the back here, okay? So mostly, guys, what we're talking about is chaining the takedowns together, but of course, I wanna have some options once we get to that front headlock, okay? So again, I'm gonna start to come in for my underhook, I'm gonna pull, I'm trying to get to the legs, and she starts stiff arming me and keeping her hips back. So if her hips are back and I can't attack her back or her legs, I'm gonna attack the head. So step 2, my right hand's gonna come in, and I'm gonna frame on her ear. Now, if she does nothing, I'm just gonna keep pushing her, and then I may be able to get to my shuck, or I may go into the head. But most of the time, she's gonna turn back into me, so I slide my right hand over the top of her head, I'm gonna pull, and snap her in to my front headlock position. Okay, from here, guys, as I snap her down, I'm gonna rotate and come to my right knee. So my knee matches the side of the head, always. Okay, I never wanna be here. This is really off balance. So my knee matches the side of my head, and I'm on one foot. If I'm on my knee and my foot, I know I'm gonna be mobile. I don't wanna match her here. Okay, now she's on both of her knees and I'm on both of my knees, I'm gonna be just as slow as she is. I also don't wanna necessarily be on both of my feet unless I'm ready to move. So if I'm in a transitioning period, I'm gonna be on a knee and a foot, okay? From here I have 2 options. I can go arm go behind, so that means keeping my shoulder pressure heavy, bringing my hand behind the armpit, and I circle with a goal to not have my whoop come off. To grab the ankle, okay? If I'm using my knee, same thing, but I stay nice and heavy. I'm gonna open up their elbow, drop my knee inside, bring my elbow to the hip, and now I'm knee to knee next to my partner, okay? Anytime that I'm in the front headlock position, guys, so important that I keep all my weight on the back of her neck. If at any point she can start to come up, I'm gonna have to deal with that, and now I'm not attacking, now I'm like regaining control. So we have a couple orders of things, right? If I'm defending, first I need to defend, right? Once I maintain a better control, I need to maintain. Once I start attacking, I need to attack, but I make sure I don't go backwards. So if I start attacking and I take the pressure off, now I have to go back to maintaining. Now I have to get her back to her elbows again. Then I gotta go back to attacking. So it's like a whole mess. So what we don't wanna do is take any steps backwards, okay? So what I mean by that here is that once I'm in this front headlock, I want her on her elbows at all times. If I take the pressure off and she goes to her hands, now I have to address this first. I cannot go behind her right here, okay? It's gonna be a mess if I try. So I have to snap her again, boom. Now keep all the weight heavy with my right shoulder. Everything stays super heavy here. I cannot let her posture up. So when she's trying to posture up, all my weight right here, right? I can go on my toes if I need extra, sorry. Okay, from here, I'm gonna bring my hand or my knee, whichever one, and I'm gonna start to circle behind, but the whole time, all my weight is on her, okay? She's carrying me the entire time all the way around. Any point she's not carrying me, she's gonna escape or recover the guard, okay? So let's go one more time, guys. So I'm gonna get my underhook. I'm going for my far knee tap. She starts to frame, keeping me away. So my right hand's gonna come inside to the ear. I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. Boom, snap this in, okay? So notice when I snap, guys, my elbow is closing, okay? From here, I'm gonna start to take a step back like a sprawl, but I'm gonna go to one knee, and I'm pulling with my lats. So as I go to one knee, my elbows are coming into me, okay? From here, I keep all my weight down with my right. I can bring my hand, when my hand go behind, I go for the ankle, or I can bring my knee inside, watch my left elbow come right to the hip, and keep everything nice and tight here, okay? So last detail is the two things that I'm attacking when I'm going behind, guys, are really important. If my hand goes behind, I don't just want to reach for the waist, because she's going to scramble and spin away from me. So I want to reach for the ankle. So then she tries to scramble away from me, she's going to break her own knee. Hopefully she doesn't do that, right? So I grab the ankle, go behind, okay? Second option, if my knee is in here, I don't have to worry too much about her spinning away from me, but I do want to secure the hips with my elbow. And again, all my weight is always on her. I'm not sitting on my knee like this. She's carrying me always, okay? All right, so a lot of stuff. Head, back, legs. If they defend one, the other one's open. Any questions? All right, let's go on 3, guys, 1, 2. So we're gonna circle back at the end too, but right now we're gonna go to the ground. But any questions so far with the takedowns? All right, cool. So we're gonna go to the bottom position, please, and I'll be in the mount. So, or actually I'll be in side control. Can I have your head facing now? Like breakdancing over here, I like it. All right.
Must be a little extra.
Because you drank that coffee earlier. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now, guys, we're just going to go over some pressure concepts and talk about the side control position and also going into the head and arm triangle. So we're only actually going to cover one technique now, but we're going to talk about a lot of concepts that help us hold side control, because typically this ends up being a position that people lose a lot, especially in no-gi. Sorry, my ankle's going to break. Especially in no-gi when I don't have the lapels and everything to keep everything nice and secure, okay? So how many of you guys train gi and no-gi? I'm assuming most people, but I know some of you guys only do one. Okay, does anyone only do no-gi? Does anyone only do, well, no one only does that. You guys are here. Okay, and some people didn't raise their hand, but it's fine, I teach kids, so I'm used to that. Okay, it's the truth. All right, so that being said, pretty much all of you guys are doing both, and so you guys really understand the difference between trying to hold somebody that has material on and hold somebody that has stuff like this on. It gets really annoying. So when we think about no gi, and the reason why this actually makes our gi a lot tighter as well is because we don't have to rely on the uniform anymore when we know how to close space and close angles, okay? So we're gonna talk about side control for a second, and then we're gonna go all the way into the arm triangle position. We're gonna drill an arm triangle, and then we're gonna do a little bit of side control maintenance, okay? The main reason I focus on side control maintenance so much is honestly because guards are so hard to pass, and so once I pass, like, I'm like terrified of going back in the guard. Well, not terrified, but just like really don't want to go back in the guard. Okay, once I pass the guard, I find like the second time is harder because now the person's really angry too. So once I get a side control, man, I'm like never, ever, ever going back into this zone of my partner, ever. Like, I'm like seriously so emphatic about this. Like, once I'm here, there's no way, like, you'll never catch me trying to go back into the legs. So when I'm in side control, we're going to talk about two different versions of side control, okay? So from here, First thing is gonna be super basic, right? I pass the guard. As soon as I get into side control, guys, I'm always gonna be blocking the hip for the very beginning of the guard pass, or sorry, the end of the guard pass. So as I'm passing, no matter what it was I did, say I was just knee sliding here, okay? So say I'm knee sliding, I'm coming through. As I'm passing, I'm blocking the hip, right? So I'm starting to underhook the head or pull up on the arm or whatever. My right hand's gonna block the hip, and now I'm here in a good side control. So anytime I'm blocking the hip, guys, this can be seen as like a maintenance side. So I can look at people, not the wall. Okay, so anytime in this position, guys, can be seen as a maintenance side control. Okay, because my right hand is blocking the hip, she can't really recover her guard very easily from here, but also she's gonna be very difficult for me to attack, right? So there's some trade-off, there's some pros and cons. If my arm is over here, now this is more of an attacking side control because I have a lot of options as far as where I'm gonna go with attacking the arms, the head, things like that. And here, I am blocking the hip. Okay, so if I'm blocking the hip, like go ahead and try to hip escape, Connie. Here I can follow her wherever she goes. And again, just to illustrate, when my arm's over here, now I can attack, but she can bring her knee inside and start to recover the guard. Okay, it's gonna be easier for her to do that. So when I'm in side control, guys, a couple of things to think about is I'm always moving towards the head, and I'm always making sure that her knee cannot come inside. Okay, so whether I'm blocking the hip or my arm is here, I'm always moving towards the head. And this is the same gi and no gi. Even if I'm not lucky enough to have her arm inside, like say, or I'm sorry, her arm above, like say her arm is in here trying to frame, and, or yeah, anything like that, it's still the same thing, right? I'm still always walking. No, why are you apologizing? I'm the one who has a stupid watch on. Okay, so from here, I'm always walking towards the head, and I'm always walking, bringing shoulder pressure in, right? So this hand is kind of like walking nice and tight, and I'm bringing the shoulder down to her face. Okay, so another thing about side control is that when I'm here, anytime she can look towards me, she can frame and bridge and hip escape. If she's looking at you, there's no way for her to frame and turn towards me. Okay, so once I pass, I'm always blocking a hip. Once I feel secure enough to move my hand, I'll bring my hand over, and then I can start to attack. All right, so passing, I'm maintaining. Once I'm maintaining, then I'm attacking, right? If I go backwards, just like we talked about with the other position as well, say she does start to escape, then it's okay for me to go back to maintaining, right? And then once I'm maintaining again, I feel comfortable enough to start attacking based on what's happening up here or whatever else, then I can go back to attacking. And start to defend again, then I go back to maintaining. So it's in a constant battle, guys, of maintaining and attacking from this position. The closer and closer I get in my attacking position where I'm not taking steps backwards, the closer I'm getting to submitting her. Okay, so from here, I can also use my knee to assist as well. Okay, so instead of blocking the hand with my hip, I can also bring my knee up into knee on belly, and then I have a lot of great attacks from here. Or I can bring my knee underneath her leg to start pinching my elbow tight and holding her hip this way. Okay, so just keep this stuff in mind, guys, as we go into our head and arm triangle of ways to keep the position nice and tight as I start to attack. Okay, and then when we go into our drill later, keep that in mind as well. So I'm blocking the hip. I'm always moving towards the head. I'm attacking here. If she starts to defend and recover, I can always go back to blocking the hip, or I can always bring my knee onto her belly. Even if I'm not going like full knee on belly for points, even if I'm just here, bringing my knee to her stomach. My foot's kind of like attached to her lower hip right here. My knee's on her stomach, on her hip. Now it's gonna be hard for her to recover, and I can keep attacking here, okay? So again, guys, we're not drilling any of that stuff, but just make sure they're keeping that in mind as we're attacking, all right? So now, arm triangle, my favorite. It's like a choke Connie. All right, so you can actually turn them out. So now we're gonna start from the mount, guys, just to give us a different position. You can start the arm triangle from side control, of course. I can boom, start here, and then move over into the mount. But I actually find that easier to finish than starting it from the mount. A lot of times in the mount, it's hard to get the arm above the head. So that's what we're gonna discuss today, okay? So I'm in the mount position, guys. Remember when we're in the mount, there's two places I wanna be. I either wanna be really, really low, where I'm controlling her hips, or I want to be really high where I'm controlling her upper body. Where I don't want to be is in the middle, because if I'm in the middle, now she has access to her arms and her legs. So she's going to be framing, bridging, hip escaping, moving her hips, her upper body. It's really, really annoying for me. If I'm in the lower mount, I can control her hips, I can grapevine her legs, I can cross my feet, but she can use her arms. If I'm high, I'm controlling her arms, but she can use her hips. So again, where I don't want to be is in the middle, where now she's using both, okay? But the great thing about transitioning between high and low mount is it creates different risks for her, so that means it creates different opportunities for me. So to attack the arm triangle, guys, we're gonna start in the low mount and we're gonna move high. Okay, so one of the most annoying things that people will do in the mount, especially in no-gi, is yes, crossing the arms, but also just keeping her elbows really tight to the floor. If her elbows are tight to the floor, it becomes very difficult for me to get my attacks going. So step number one, okay, we're getting to a technique, I promise. Okay, so step number one is I'm gonna start to bring my knees to the ribs. Okay, so I'm gonna bring her tricep up, and I'm gonna close my knee to her body. Same thing on this side. Bring the tricep up, and I close the knee to the body. There's a reason why I'm not just shooting straight to high mount and I'm not attacking right away. Because a lot of times when I'm telegraphing things so clearly, it becomes very difficult to actually get my attacks going. She starts defending so early. So I'm actually creating a little bit of like a fake safeness for her, okay? So she still feels safe here, nothing's wrong. Right as my knees come to the ribs, guys, I'm closing my elbows, I'm keeping her arms intact. I'm now gonna shoot myself to the high mount, okay? So I'm kind of cupping the back of her head. I may even get an underhook on the head if I can already. And I'm gonna start to bring my knees up into the high mount here, okay? So once I'm in the high mount, I now have access to her arm. But again, I don't wanna over telegraph. So I don't need to like bring my arm around and try to smash everything together right away, okay? She's gonna know what's up. So step number 3, as I come into the high mount, whatever side I'm going to start attacking, which right now, is gonna be this arm right here close to you guys, is I'm just gonna start to bring my knee and creep it underneath her shoulder blade as much as I can. So I'm gonna start to bring my knee in and creep her arm nice and tight up here, okay? So now, once her arm is above her head, I don't have to fight anything with strength, okay? So from here, I wanna make sure I only have one arm involved, so I'll release the hand if I need to. And I'm gonna start to dive my hand to her elbow and push it past, and then bring my neck to the back of her elbow, okay? So my neck is gonna attach to her tricep here. Now again, once I'm here, guys, there's no rush. I don't need to over telegraph anything. She's gonna start to have some alarms going off. She knows that something is coming, but I don't need to rush the finish, okay? There's a lot that can be said for like cooking our opponent and making them suffer, because the more uncomfortable they are, the more mistakes they're gonna start to make because they get desperate, okay? So I'm here making her uncomfortable, kind of smashing her face a little bit. Now I'm gonna start to move down into a lower mount. So I use my higher mount to get the arm triangle, but I can't finish from here. So now I'm gonna move into a lower mount. So once I have my neck attached to her tricep, I'm gonna start to scooch down, but as I scoot down, guys, watch how my head follows my knee, okay? I can't leave my head up there where it's gonna be disconnected, okay? So from this position, you guys can see I have her head and arm controlled, but if I try to squeeze her here, I'm just gonna smash her face. She may tap, most people are not going to, okay? So from here, to tighten my choke, there's 3 things that I need to finish an arm triangle, okay? First thing is I need to glue my bicep to her carotid artery here. Okay, so what that means is my right hand's gonna push on her head, so I'm pushing her head this way, and my left hand's gonna spider walk this way on the mat. So I push and I walk here, okay, and the whole time I'm keeping my head down. Now my bicep's glued to her carotid artery, it's gonna shut off the blood, okay? Now step 2 is I need to drop my shoulder below her chin. Right now I'm just smashing her face. So from here I can use my hand as a post, I keep my head low, I'm gonna drop my shoulder, I'm moving to a low mount, and then I'm gonna slide it back up underneath her chin. So now my shoulder's underneath the chin. So now I'm attacking the airway on top and closing the space. The third thing that's gonna choke my partner is her shoulder and her carotid artery here, okay? So the way I'm gonna make sure that that's nice and tight is I'm gonna use my head to push this way, okay? So from here, I'm gonna windshield wiper my foot over so I don't get stuck in half guard. I'm gonna come to my knees, I'm side by side with my partner. I'm not squeezing at all, guys. I'm just gonna drop to my hips and push with my head. Here. Sorry. Okay. So again, there's 3 things that are doing this choke, okay? Very, very important. Number 1, my bicep on this side is cutting off the carotid artery. 2, my shoulder's closing the airway in the space here so she can't move around. And 3, I'm shutting off the blood with her own shoulder on her carotid artery here, which is my head pushing in, okay? So 1, 2, and 3. If we have those 3 things, our partner's gonna be in trouble. Okay, so I'm gonna simplify it down into a couple of steps, guys. We're in the mount, okay? She's keeping her elbows nice and tight. So step number 1 is I need to get to the high mount. So I start to lift the elbows, close, lift the elbow, close. I'm just cooking her, just making her uncomfortable. Don't need to do anything crazy. I'm gonna start to climb up into this high mount, okay? From here, I make sure my hips are down. I'm not like a table, okay? Then they're gonna start doing all that annoying like foot in the armpit stuff that I hate. So keep everything super low, okay? From here, I'm gonna start to underhook the head. Step 2, underhook the head, boom, keep this tight. And now I use my knee to pinch her arm up. Okay, so that's really, really powerful. Much more powerful than me trying to swim with my arm, where she's gonna start doing a bunch of annoying things like overwrapping and keeping her elbows tight. So I pinch with the knee. So now her arm's already in place. I don't have to fight it. I just keep it here. I can cup the back of the arm, and I'm gonna move my neck to her tricep. Once the neck is on the tricep, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna choke her now because her head and arm are isolated together. Okay, but again, there's no rush. Just keep making her uncomfortable. Step number 3. Is I use my hand as a post. I'm gonna slide down, but my head follows my knee, right? So I don't leave it behind. Now this position, guys, I'm in the low mount. My hips are covering her hips, but my choke is very loose. So 3 things that I'm gonna adjust, the 3 things I need for the choke. turn this way so you guys can see, okay? So, number one, I'm gonna push her head. I'm gonna walk my hand this way to tighten the carotid artery here, or the bicep to the carotid artery here. So I push and I walk my fingers just to make sure everything is snug. From this position, guys, you can finish the arm triangle with a lot of different grips. You can go gable grip, rear naked choke, cup in the armpit. But anytime I'm adjusting and this hand is free or posting or whatever, I always want to cup the armpit to keep this nice and snug, okay? Now step two is I'm gonna drop my shoulder under her chin. So I use my hand as a post, I drop this down, and I'm gonna slide it back up so that by the time I'm back up, I'm under the chin, okay? Now, three, my head is gonna push her shoulder into her carotid artery here. But first, I'm gonna come off to the side. So I windshield wipe over, come to both of my knees. I'm gonna go flat to my stomach. I'm gonna push with my head, and I'm gonna get the tap, okay? So for this position, guys, there really isn't any squeeze necessary. Of course, if we're sparring and someone's fighting and it's sweaty and it's like, it gets a little bit loose or something like that, we can add a little bit of squeeze in at the end. But the worst thing ever is like having a choke that you think is tight and you're like squeezing on your partner and then they escape and then your arms are dead. Okay, so if you're having to squeeze, especially when we're drilling, there's definitely something wrong if we're drilling and we're having to squeeze. In a sparring situation, at the very end, that's fine. If you have to add a little bit in, like flex biceps, cover the space, all that stuff's fine. But for now, we shouldn't have to squeeze. And if we are, there's something that we need to adjust, so just let me know, all right? So one more time. In the mount, her elbows are tight, so I'm gonna start to clear the space. I lift one, knee close to the ribs, cover. Same thing on the other side, cover. I'm making her feel like a little bit comfortable here because I don't want to telegraph exactly what's going on. So I'm making her uncomfortable, I'm cooking her a little bit. Step number one is gonna get all the way to the high mount, keeping my hips low. Step two, I'm gonna start to swim underneath the head. Some of these steps may take a minute, that's okay. There's no rush, I'm in a great position. Okay, from here, I'm gonna use my knee to pinch her shoulder up on one side. Once this is up, I can cup the tricep and I move my head to the other side of her arm. So once my head is on the other side of her arm, it's never gonna go back here, ever, okay? From here, I use my hand as a post. Step three, I'm gonna start to slide back down, and now I'm in a good position to start attacking my choke. So from here, guys, it depends on the size of your partner. Your head may be a little bit off the ground, but preferably, I want my head all the way down. Just added a lot of pressure and kept everything a lot more tight, okay? Three things to finish the choke. Number one is this bicep. So step one, I push the head, I walk my hand. Now from here, I cup the armpit. Step two, I'm gonna drop my shoulder down. So I post, I might use my toes a little bit for balance, and I slide my shoulder underneath her chin. Now if I end up in a position where somehow I locked on my choke and that part was already tight, say my shoulder was already under the chin, then of course I can skip step two, okay? So sometimes there will be a different bit of an order, but the major thing that's important is that all these three things are intact. I don't care which order they happen in, as long as they happen, okay? So my shoulder's underneath the chin. Step three, I'm gonna come off to the side, windshield wiper my foot so I don't get stuck in half guard. Knees next to her hips, I'm gonna flatten my hips, I'm gonna push with my head here to finish, okay? So I'm dropping everything down. What we don't want to do, again, guys, I'm not squeezing and like pulling her off the mat. That's actually going to release a lot of the pressure, and that's what most people try to do. They try to pull and squeeze, okay? Same thing with the triangle. For some reason, like whenever we want to finish a triangle, we want to extend and like push our partner away when actually we need to pull everything in. So from here, I have the choke, dropping everything down, and major thing to finish is using my head to drive towards her, and that's going to make the magic happen, okay? So that was a lot of details and concepts we talked about, guys, but we are going to use all of them as we go into the drills in the next few minutes, so make sure we're trying to keep those in mind, all right? Any questions about the submission in particular, or any of this stuff? I heard an almost question. No? Okay. All right, let's go on three, guys. 1, 2. Takedowns. Connie's ready to go. Okay, so takedowns, guys. Now we're just going to do a quick takedown drill, all right? And what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on the underhook position. So with our partner, you're gonna get to start with an underhook. It's like, give it like I'm in a candy shop and I get to start with that. Is that the phrase? I think so. Yeah, right? Kid in a candy shop? Yeah, like me with an underhook, right? So you guys can imagine that. So we're gonna start with an underhook, and your only goal is to take your partner down, right? So from here, we're just gonna start in this position with my hand underneath on the back of the delt, and my head is gonna start a good position here on the inside of her ear or on her temple. My right hand can be posted on the shoulder. So as a review, remember guys, going back like 2 hours ago, okay? First option is I can go for right bar knee tap, boom, taking her down here. My second option is I shucked her by, and I came to the clinch. My third option was coming here and going to the front headlock. Now there's of course a ton of other options. We go single leg, A lot of cool stuff that we can do, okay? But the main idea, again, of today is not to necessarily be an expert at any particular technique. It's just to get really, really comfortable in this underhook position so that we can start seeing the advantages of it and seeing how we're gonna use it in sparring or in competition, okay? So we're gonna start with the underhook. We're gonna go from there. My goal is to take my partner down. Okay, so from there, we go until the takedown. Once there's a takedown, no guard pull. Okay, once there's a takedown, sorry guys. You came to the wrong seminar for that, no, I was kidding. So, funny story, Jess, I know Jess is a guard puller because she fought my sister at American National, so. Anyway, underhook, get your takedowns, finish the takedown. Once you get your 2 points, stand up, go again. So it's gonna be the same person the entire time. So for 2 minutes, the same person has the underhook, then I'll tell you guys when to switch. All right, any questions about the drill? All right, let's go on 3, 1, 2. That, right, so we talked about our underhook position, the far knee tap. We talked about shucking by and going to the back clinch and doing our reverse semi-gaesh. We talked about going to the front headlock when they keep their hips far away from me. And then we took it to the ground, totally changed gears, okay? So we talked about side control maintenance, right? When we're in side control, first when I'm controlling the position, I'm blocking the hips so they can't recover. Then I'm moving closer to the head. I'm bringing my hand to the other side. I'm starting to attack. If they defend, I go back to maintaining again, right? There's no problem with that. In fact, a lot of side control is just switching different versions of side control until we can start to catch up to our partner and work on some attacks, right? Holding them flat on their back. Then we talked about our arm triangle, right? So attacking our arm triangle, 3 key things that we want to make sure we're staying in control of is using our bicep to close the blood on this side, or whichever side, using our shoulder to close the airway and close the space, and then using our head to drive and push the shoulder into the carotid artery on the other side. Okay, I was telling somebody earlier, I have like a couple different tapes of myself in a competition trying the arm triangle, and I just look like I'm struggling so hard and I can't finish the choke, and as soon as I bring my head to the side, the tap comes in, right? So don't sleep on that technique or on that detail, guys. It's really, really, really effective. It's helping a lot, okay? So we did all of that today, then we brought it back to our drills, right? We did our side control drills. You guys look good. Got some arm triangles in there, I saw as well. Then we did the standing techniques, or the standing drill, and I saw a lot of far knee taps and front headlocks, even some blast elbows, some single legs, some back clinch stuff, some rolls. Man, a lot of great stuff, okay? So all of that being recapped, any questions? I know Jess has 2. Any questions on anything we went over today? We're going to do one more standing drill, okay? So keep that in mind, but you guys are resting right now, okay? Any questions? I'm going to start and go in a line. Yes?
When you're being taken down, I usually go directly to base as I wrestle.
Yeah.
But what's the difference in jiu-jitsu as far as not exposing your back for like chokes?
Yeah. So I love your question, and I'm laughing because I did jiu-jitsu when I was a kid, and then I went to wrestling, and then I came back. But as soon as I came back from wrestling, I thought I was going to be able to take everyone down, and in fact, I just got choked a lot. So there's a couple things, right? When I am either shooting takedowns or being taken down, especially if I'm being taken down and defending, right? Okay, so the number one thing, Connie, can you use it, please? The number one thing is knowing when to attack the head and when to sprawl, okay? So typically the rule of thumb, like just if you have like a single leg, for example, yeah. So if my partner has a single leg and she's gonna start to take me down, typically before I go for any kind of choke or before I'm turning and giving up my back, for example, I need to separate my leg from her, right? So of course, that's easier said than done. But the first thing that I'm gonna do is separate her head from me. Anytime I separate my head or her head from me, I'm gonna be in better shape, right? So from here, do you mean, how do we defend, or if I know I'm going to go to the ground?
Know you're going down.
Perfect. So if I know I'm going to the ground, okay, it's the exact opposite of wrestling. I don't want to go to my knees, because anytime I go to my knees, she's going to attack my back, right? I don't want to duck my head down, she's going to attack my head. So if I know that I'm going down, like just push me down, change, finish, I always want to try to recover my guard right away. So from this position, notice how it's different than just laying down, because now she's going to start to pass and go to side control, like a pinning position, right? So I want to recover my guard right away and be in like a seated position here, where I can play open guard, or obviously if she comes all the way to the ground, like say you're actually going to start passing or something here, then I want to start to frame, create space, and bring myself back to the guard here. So it's the exact opposite of wrestling, meaning I'm not going to go to my front, I'm going to go to my back, but I want to be careful not just to lay down, I want to bring my legs up and create like a barrier of space between myself and my partner. Okay, answer your question. It's not always a fun process to adjust to, but doing that from the very beginning and avoiding the impulse to turn and like fight from the turtle is really helpful to do now, right? Because I think I waited too long to do that personally, and I would get so comfortable in the turtle and like, oh, no one can take my back. Feel like my guard retention really suffered, right? So even if you go to your guard right away and people are passing constantly, it's okay, right? But do that now instead of trying to fix it later, all right? Cool. Yeah, of course. And welcome to Jiu-Jitsu. Other questions, guys? I'll kind of go down. Yeah.
The shot part.
Yes. Just like a review of it?
Yeah.
Cool. And also, guys, you can ask questions about anything else, too. It doesn't have to necessarily be, I left kind of like it's shorter now, but it was like a 15-minute time to ask questions. Okay, so for the shove, guys, when I have the underhook here, okay, this is not gonna work if she's keeping a nice and tight whizzer, right? So if her elbow is nice and tight here, I'm not gonna be able to throw this by. The reason this becomes available to me is when I start to chase the leg, if she starts to face me and bring her hips in, it's automatically gonna open this elbow. So as her elbow starts to open, now I have the room to bring my hand, I'm just gonna shoot it in the line of her head. So the same line of her shoulder and her head, I shoot and I duck behind, okay? Do you have a specific question about it or something you were running into?
It was like footwork. That was on the half.
Oh yeah. So I'm really just circling to the back with my feet. I'm just trying to get my hips behind her hips, right? A lot of times, like same with an arm drag, a lot of times you see with the arm drag, people just kind of like spinning around, but I'm not really bringing my hips behind her hips, and that's gonna be my goal. So when I'm here and I'm shucking, I'm just stepping my knee behind her knee because my knee leads to my hip. So as I start to shuck, my knee comes behind her knee, and then my hip comes behind her hip. So instead of going like in a big circle, I'm really cutting through. Does that make sense? Cool. Awesome. Yeah.
The side control position you're using, are you using it just like as a pit stop, or are you baiting that to run?
When I'm blocking the hip, you mean?
Yeah, because you're on the same side, obviously.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to talking about maintenance versus attacking, right? So whenever I'm passing the guard, like especially, well, for two reasons. One, if it's like a point scenario, I want to wait for my points. But two, also, I just don't want to go back into the guard, right? So say like, just for example, like I'm Toriano passing or whatever, I just pass to the side. I'm immediately blocking the hip here so that she doesn't recover, okay? But now, once I'm ready to attack, this hand can move at any time. So it's gonna be really difficult for me to like get any submissions going without this hand involved, especially like it's different in the gi, but especially in no gi, there's not a whole lot I can do with just this arm. So when I'm ready to attack, yeah, I'm gonna start to bring that arm over and I'm gonna start to engage some other positions. But I can always go back there if I feel in danger of her recovery. So if I'm losing a position, or I'm losing a submission and she's starting to recover, then I can go back, make my adjustments, maybe I switch to Kisikatami or a different kind of side control, whatever, then I can bring my hand back over and start to attack again. Okay, cool, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
When you're snapping them down, do you have the underhook, but when you snap them down, you want to like circle around? Do you switch to overhook or what? Because you're talking about the arm and head.
Yeah, so I like the movement. So yeah, this is a great question, guys, and someone else asked this earlier as well. When I have the front headlock, because of the position I was in with the underhook, my hand is automatically here. Now I don't want to switch it over right now because anytime I give any space, she's going to be defending, whether it's taking her arm out or exactly peeling my hand off, stuff like that. So when I'm here, I'm just going to keep this here, and this is as good a control as this is for the purpose that I'm using it for right now. But once I snap her down, now I can adjust, okay? So go on your hands for me, So once she's on her hands, and I just want to illustrate, like this is not the time yet. I want her to be all the way on her elbows. So I snap her down, boom, she's on her elbows. Now I'm in a much better control position, whereas when I'm on my feet, we're kind of equal. But now that I'm here and I'm in a better control position, I can take a second to switch this over and then be super effective with pulling that out and things like that, okay? Answer your question? Perfect.
My question's related to her. When I was doing the head snap, I had trouble bringing him to his knees. Like every time I brought his head down, he seems to still be able to tense and bring himself up.
In a tripod or on the hands? Like here?
A little bit of both, yeah.
On the feet? Okay, so a couple of things we can do here. Would you mind if I run over a little bit, Manny?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sorry guys. But I want to make sure I get to all the questions. So, a couple chemo tripod. All right, so my partner's tripoded here, guys. I definitely can still snap them down to their knees, but sometimes depending on their defense, it's going to be difficult, right? So I have a lot of options, but just to keep it super simple, like say I'm really trying to snap and I'm not able to get her down, I can either shove her forward or I can shove her backward, right? So if she's just not going with me, then I'm actually going to start to circle to the side and I can start attacking her feet as well. So two options from here when I'm attacking the feet, depending on where they are. If this leg is close to me and this leg is just way too far, then I can start to circle here and I can kind of ankle pick and throw her head over her ankle and take her down this way. However, preferably, sorry, Connie, just like holding it there. Can you bring this leg forward a little bit? If her leg, more like a spread out. Yeah, exactly. A lot of times people will go here because the legs are wider, they create a really strong base. Yeah. So if this is the case, then I'm gonna go for my cross ankle, right? So from here, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to circle inside. Sorry, I'm trying to smash her neck. I'm gonna circle inside, and I'm gonna reach across to her ankle, and I start to drive through her here, okay? So the cross ankle is much more effective because it puts my partner off balance at a diagonal ankle, just like the far knee tap, right, or an ankle pick. The same side ankle is less effective, but easier to reach, depending on where my partner is at. But you can try both, and again, when I chase one thing, the next thing opens up. So a lot of times what we'll see is when I attack that near ankle, even if I don't get the takedown, all of a sudden they're posturing up, well boom, now I have my legs or my body to attack. Okay, does that answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Perfect, yeah. All right, next question. Yes, sir.
What if they keep their elbows really tight and it's hard to get the underhook? Is
The
that an
underhook?
alternative setup? Yeah.
That's where bullying the head comes into play. It sounds aggressive, but it's the truth. If someone's here and I'm not able to dig in at all, I'm gonna start attacking the head. Because if I'm attacking the head, they're either gonna get frustrated and they're gonna open up, or they're just really gonna have to defend the collar size, and that's gonna force them to open up. Either way, they're open. So if I'm here and she's really tight, I'm just gonna start really pulling on the head, start pushing her around here until she gives me the space to open up. Because she can't attack from here, right? There's not anything she can do, so it's purely defensive. So I need to force her to get into a more loose position. Okay, and you don't have to have a question, by the way. I'm just going in this order to be helpful. Okay, next question. Who's next? I think it's you.
Okay.
Yes, just go.
So if they keep their arm in from the, if you can't manage to fully shuck the arm off of your head, can you still go for the throw from the back?
Let me make sure I know what you're talking about. So from here, like I'm shucking this over, and does she have
She
my
keeps
head?
it over your head, yeah.
Oh yeah. So if I'm here, this can be really risky, and it gets into like this weird scrambly position that I don't really want to be in. Because now even if I try to pull her back, so short answer, you can technically still go for it, but I would recommend more of a trip instead of that roll, because now my head's attached to her ribs, and, and that's gonna be uncomfortable for me. So instead of that, I would suggest going for this like little trip here where I start to kick out and I'm tilting her back to my left hip. So I'm kind of coming here and then sitting to my left hip if my head is stuck. Or just going in and addressing the arm right away, right? Because if I'm here, I can also just pop this up. Of course, it's not always gonna be that easy, but I wanna pop this up and then start to attack. I can even switch now here to my little like suplex position, and I'm gonna put her back onto her hands in the tripod, okay? And second question.
So if they're not keeping their head tight from the underhook position, does that tricep or deltoid grip possibly open them up to you doing the same thing back to them? Kind of like a 50-50 type exchange, like, because the head is going to prevent them from coming around, right?
You make sure that I know what you're talking about. So from here, so say it one more time.
If you're not keeping your head tight, does it open?
If I'm loose and she's here.
Yes. Does it open you up to the possibility of her doing the underhook back to you?
She could do the
angles
underhook
you.
back to me if she swims this hand inside, but also even with the whizzer, she's really powerful here, right? If my head is anytime separated from my arm like this, she can attack single legs here, she can attack fireman carries here, she can go in and start to throw me here as well. There's a lot of stuff that can get me in trouble, right? So she could swim for the underhook, but she'd have to actually swim the arm all the way inside, instead of just having my head inside already and driving across. Did that answer your question, or do you have a follow-up question to that?
No, that's good, thank you.
I see the brain calculating, so I got you. Cool. More questions, guys, on this side? Yeah.
Same thing when you're in that position, you have everything, the underhook, your head it's on her
temple, yeah.
But instead she really does a really
whizzer?
hard, whizzer. So
Yeah, so this is a smart, continue. Do you have another?
Yeah,
Okay. So this is one of the major counters, right? Because if we reverse engineer, anytime I want to open her elbow, she wants to close it, right? So if I'm here and I'm in a good position, but she starts to whizzer down really hard, this is going to give me access to her head. Because I don't need to elevate my elbow to get to the head. So from here, she's whizzering down really hard, and I can't reach the legs, and I can't shuck and go to the back, boom, right to the head. Because once I open the head, I don't know if you guys saw this just happen, bring your head close again and give your tight whizzer. As soon as I push the head, watch her hands. It has to loosen up because your shoulder has to follow her head, right? Her head can't go anywhere without the rest of her body, okay? So when I push the head away, because it's attached to the shoulder here, it loosens the whizzer. Now I can either go to the front headlock or I can decide to go back to shucking her by. But it's separating the head from the arm that's gonna loosen this. Because when I'm here, I'm tight. As soon as someone starts to push my face away, I can't, my arm can't physically stay here. See what's happening? Like I have to open it, okay? So really shove the head away, but you might have to be pretty forceful there because they want to stay tight to me. So the more space I create, the more loose their position is going to be. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions on this side, guys? Or this side? Okay. All right.